At least 14 people were killed in Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon on Monday, the country's health ministry said, as attacks persisted despite Iranian threats to strike Israel again if it continued bombing Lebanon. Strikes were reported in Marwania and Tyre after Israel and Iran said they had brought an end to a round of tit-for-tat attacks begun by Tehran after Israeli strikes hit Beirut over the weekend, just days after agreeing on a ceasefire deal. A Lebanese culture ministry official said Israeli bombardment the previous day had also damaged a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Tyre. Meanwhile, Iran-backed Hezbollah said it had targeted Israeli troops inside Lebanon, but did not claim any attacks on Israeli territory. Iran has warned that it will resume attacks if Israel continues striking Lebanon, but Israeli leaders on Monday insisted they would not be deterred. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz vowed after the warning that the military would continue to operate in Lebanon and added that Israel would strike Beirut's southern suburbs in retaliation for every attack on northern Israel. Over the weekend, Israel launched strikes on Lebanon, killing several people, including 3 members of the Lebanese military, just days after the two sides agreed on a ceasefire deal. In an interview with Euronews, UNIFIL's deputy head of mission said that while the UN peacekeeping force is there to support the peace process, it cannot enforce any agreement on the parties involved.
There was already a cessation of hostilities agreement found in November 24. We have supported this, in particular the redeployment of the Lebanese armed forces to the south, verifying that Hezbollah had vacated the south, and helping the Lebanese armed forces to clear the south of weapons that were not under the control of the state. So we are here to support a process, but when the process fails, then it is not for UNIFIL to substitute itself to the parties and force an agreement that the parties have to implement.
Hezbollah has rejected the Israel-Lebanon talks, while a previous ceasefire has been breached daily, with Israeli troops deployed deep inside Lebanese territory and Hezbollah militants continuing to attack Israel.
I think it's very difficult to see now a change within a few weeks. There is always the chance that the political process, the political will of the parties will change things on the ground. I think we see this under the US negotiation that are currently ongoing in Washington, but it's a very complicated process.
Lebanon's army said the continued Israeli attacks thwart efforts toward a comprehensive ceasefire and Israeli withdrawal from the occupied Lebanese territories. On a rare visit to North Korea, Chinese President Xi Jinping vowed to bring the complicated traditional alliance to new heights in a likely attempt to reassert Beijing's unique influence over its neighbor as it moves closer to Moscow. Xi and his wife were greeted by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in a lavish welcome ceremony complete with a red carpet military salute and cheering crowds. Xi expressed China's willingness to expand cooperation in a wide range of areas, including trade, agriculture, construction, and technology, according to Chinese state media. Kim, whose country has been historically reliant on China, has drawn closer to Moscow in recent years while expanding his country's nuclear weapons program. He boosted an alliance with Putin after sending troops to fight alongside Russian forces against Ukraine. Restoring an exclusive influence over North Korea would give Xi leverage in dealings with U.S. President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly expressed his desire to restart diplomacy with Kim. Xi and Trump met in Beijing last month and are to meet again in the U.S. in September.
In Lyon and around France there is grief and outrage. Thousands gathered in front of courthouses to demand justice for Liana, an 11-year-old girl murdered in southwest France. The main suspect, Jérôme Barella, has faced multiple complaints for sexual violence against minors going back years. He was never investigated or questioned until now.
C'est pas un dysfonctionnement de un tribunal et d'un juge ou un procureur. C'est l'ensemble du système qui est à revoir en fait.
More than 150 rallies took place across France on Monday, demanding justice for Liana and an overhaul of the system participants say has failed to protect children.
Stop, ça suffit, on en a ras-le-bas de cette justice laxiste.
J'ai très peur pour mes petites filles. Et mes petits garçons aussi, hein, c'est pareil. Hein.
Il faut que le peuple se réveille et que le peuple dise qu'on en a marre, quoi, qu'il faut que la justice se réveille et que le gouvernement fasse quelque chose.
Il faut qu'il y ait des têtes qui tombent et il faut que la justice change de camp. Parce que nous ne pouvons pas accepter ça.
These rallies are demanding answers. How could a man reported multiple times for sexual violence remain free until a child was killed? And what must change so that it never happens again? Denis Loctier, Euronews, Lyon.
Uno de los más dolorosos es con aquellos que han sido heridos precisamente por quienes debían cuidarlos, incluso por miembros del clero. Ante esta plaga, la comunidad eclesial está llamada a responder con la escucha, la verdad, la justicia.
The meeting that Pope Leo XIV held on Monday with up to 6 victims of sexual abuse suffered within the Catholic Church has been criticized by several organizations representing those affected. They claim that the profile of the victims who meet the pontiff at the Apostolic Nunciature, the Vatican's headquarters in Spain, has been pre-selected to avoid conveying an uncomfortable message to him during the meeting organized by the Spanish Episcopal Conference itself. Up to 9 associations claim to have been excluded from the meeting.
Es un momento excelente durante su visita a España para que se pronuncie favorablemente a que los delitos de pederastia no prescriban.
Before addressing the Spanish Parliament on Monday, Pope Leo XIV held a private 20-minute meeting with Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez at the Apostolic Nunciature. Lawmakers from Podemos and the Galician Nationalist Bloc boycotted the historic address, in which the pontiff challenged both sides of the political spectrum by criticizing abortion, the global arms race, and the migration crisis.
Rescuers searched ruined buildings in the southern Philippines on Tuesday to ensure no one was still trapped a day after one of the strongest earthquakes to hit the country in half a century killed at least 37 people and displaced more than 20,000. Many people who left their homes feared a tsunami. Waves up to 1.4 meters above tide level were measured in the Philippines, but the only tsunami damage reported was to 6 shanties on stilts in a coastal village. The earthquake left a trail of destruction, including in General Santos, a lively coastal city of more than 700,000 people, where at least 13 people were killed in collapsed buildings and due to falling debris. About 2,000 houses and 117 government buildings and facilities were damaged in several provinces, according to an initial government damage assessment. Authorities have warned that buildings that sustained cracks could collapse due to aftershocks, some of them dangerously powerful.
The countdown is almost over. Across North America, host cities are putting the finishing touches to preparations for the biggest World Cup in history. From Kansas to Toronto, officials say security plans are in place.
I think for the world, we want to show off that Kansas City is on the rise, that we are elevating. We are, no longer, as we say, a flyover state, we're a fly-to state. But we also want people in Kansas City to be really proud of this as well. We hope Kansas Cityans and those in the region are really excited to host and show off and proud that this came to their backyard.
Toronto will host 6 World Cup games starting this Friday. Officials in Canada's largest city say they are ready to welcome the world and are emphasizing its diversity.
Embrace this moment in our city, in our country's history, and experience all that this opportunity has to offer. We are ready to welcome the world, and we are looking forward to kicking off.
But beyond host cities' preparations and the stadiums, the focus is also now shifting to the national teams. On Monday, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum presided over a flag presentation ceremony for the national team, 3 days before the country opens the 2026 FIFA World Cup against South Africa. Mexico plays host to 6 national squads in the country, including the Iranian squad embroiled in a war with the US. Meanwhile, as final preparations enter their last phase, fans and officials are confronted with some obstacles: exorbitant ticket prices and U.S. travel bans and visa restrictions. On Monday, Omar Artan, who was set to be the first Somali to referee at the World Cup finals, was dropped from the list of officials after he was denied entry to the United States. His entry refusal follows President Donald Trump's visa ban list and restrictions, including 4 competing at the World Cup: Haiti, Iran, Senegal, and Ivory Coast.